Yet, by the same token, I've done the same things. It's sort of like texting and driving. I think a lot of us know we shouldn't do that.
Listen, I think anybody caught texting and driving, number one, should get their handheld device seized right then and there. Given a hefty fine. I mean a hefty fine, including a driving license suspension.
It's more of an impairment than typical DUIs are.
Exactly.
Yet it's not treated the same, is it?
Oh, no, because in my opinion, big companies are making a lot of money and paying off a lot of politicians.
And you wouldn't get an argument here. It's just like, I know you asked the question a bit earlier, why is all of this happening? Why are we engaging our kids earlier? A lot of these games that they get engaged with, in fact, you see articles about this all the time, where the parents get some big surprising bill because the kids have been buying, some attachment or added feature to play in a game, and the next thing you know, they've ran up a $3,000 or $4,000 or $10,000 bill.
Big time.
And we're all seeing it. Well, that also says that we've got kids that we're letting go off and play all those things, and we're not supervising, we're not monitoring, and we're giving them that electronic babysitter to keep them in check, if you will.
So, what does this tell us about society in general? Number one, the family unit is just falling apart. We're allowing electronics to take over the responsibilities of mothers and fathers and educators. We're allowing multi-billion-dollar companies to continue making more and more and more. What really ticks me off are some of the software companies who, when you buy a system, let's just use Microsoft as an example, like I love doing. You buy a computer today with Windows 7. A new operating system comes out. Now, some of your software won't work on the new operating system. And we're seeing the same things happening in iPads and iPhones. You have to buy and buy and buy. The government should, in my opinion, step in and say enough is enough. But then again, the government makes a lot of money from these high-tech corporations. And I'm sure there's a lot of payoffs to certain government officials like there are in every other industry. I think that we, the people, should take back parenthood. I think that we have given up our right because a lot of parents are too damn lazy to do anything else. In fact, I don't even know why some people are parents at all. You go to school, you don't need to take a cell phone with you. Here's a quarter. Use a phone if you need me. You don't need a cell phone during the day when you're at school because your friends are there. Talk to them. I would love to see a school district have the balls to say no cell phones in school, period. No iPads, period. Take out Wi-Fi. Put up blocks so you can't get a signal. We need to get that back down to basics because, God forbid, the day comes when technology fails, and it always does. What are the kids going to do?
Well, you asked the question, what do the parents do? One of the biggest horrors that parents are having now is losing their cell phone. It's worse than losing their wallet.
Yep.
Truly.
Yeah.
And, the thing that as we were talking about that, I look at just the entertainment. What are one of the other things that we all do with these devices today? Well, that's where all the music is. That's where all the videos are and all that. But let's just stick with the music for a minute. Mm-hmm. We used to have LPs. Well, then it went to CDs. Well, now it's all digital downloads online. And like you said, you had it back then, you bought it in the new format, and then lo and behold, you're buying it in another format.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, I hate to even talk about that issue because there are record companies, the RIAA, the MPAA, the movie companies that are going after people big time for, loading their other stuff online and you didn't properly license it. And
that's
yada,
right.
Yada, yada.
Yeah.
And we are training people that way.
As a professional broadcaster, we have to pay licensing fees. We have to keep broadcast logs not only for the CRTC, but for the FCC in the United States. We are governed by rules and regulations. It ticks me off to know that there are people out there who start up these internet radio stations, which are nothing more than audio files that they're playing because they're not real radio. And they get away with murder. Once again, is it the technology that is teaching these people how to be criminals? Because if you download music that you don't pay for, that's piracy. And in my books, that's a crime. You've got people who are running internet radio stations who do not comply with any rule regulation, and they're getting away with it. And then people say, well, we don't want the government to monitor the internet. We want to have total freedom of speech with the internet. Now, when I say the internet, I'm including the iPads as well as the iPhones. People are doing it to themselves. I can see the rules and regulations coming down in the very near future. It's going to happen. And you're going to have a lot of people complaining. You're going to have a lot of people protesting violently because they brought this on themselves. If a time came when a school, like I said, went back to basics and didn't allow the electronics in the school, besides the school computers themselves, I'd be a very happy person. I'd put that school up for every award going.
Well, it's fascinating to me today because if you listen to teacher complaints, the single biggest complaint that they have is competing with the phones that are going off in their classroom.
Yep.
And that's, even when if they have the rule that, okay, the phone goes off and I take it. Well, okay, now you take it. and now what? You give them back after class, but, by the same token, 4 other phones went off during the same class.
It would be very simple to put a blocking signal out that the cell phones couldn't receive a signal. That would be very simple.
Oh, yeah, we know that it happens. As a matter of fact, movie theaters were doing that for a period of time, and quite honestly, I don't know what's happened to that technology, but certainly we don't see that happening because you see situations where there's texting going back and forth in movie theaters, and you see actual physical fights breaking out because of it.
Yep.
So, but yeah, the technology certainly exists to do that. It's not expensive. It's isolated to a small given area. It doesn't have to affect service outside that area. We've gotten real good at that. It's just not used. And like you posed the question earlier, why is that?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't have the answer either. Yeah. Big business certainly doesn't want us to use that. When we start to look at advertising, you're in broadcast radio. You understand what's happening to not only the radio broadcasters, but the TV broadcasters. The revenues are shrinking because ad revenue is moving somewhere else, and it's moving to the social media sites. Why do the social media sites want our kids on at 13, 14, 15?
They're customers.
They hook them all the earlier.
Yep, that is so true. That is so true.
And they hook them at a time where they are least mentally developed. I mean, the frontal lobe doesn't fully develop until they're in their early to mid-20s. And so they're susceptible to a lot more of the, I hate to say implanting that goes on, but they are, and that's what it is. And, they're getting branding concepts at a much earlier age. We thought it was bad enough with TV and playing jingles that are 50 years old that everybody knows what they are. Now we're really sort of gluing it in, and they're on the electronic devices a whole lot more than they ever were on the TVs.
Plus, we don't know what the long-term effect of all the airwave transmissions that we're being subjected to each and every minute of the day. You've got microwaves, you've got all the other different AM, FM frequencies, you have so many bandwidths that are now opening up to the highest bidder. We don't know what's going to happen to us. We know that if you're at a gas station, they want you to shut off your cell phone. Why is that? Because it can start a fire, you morons. And you put this thing up to your ear.
right next to your developing brain.
Exactly. And yet nobody seems to care.
Nope, and as we're talking about, the problem is at a bigger level, all in all, every day, and it's happening younger and younger.
Once again, money talks, and this is what I can see happening with social media. Look at all the advertising, and now they've got a way to monitor who the best advertiser for you is. Are we being brainwashed? Are we being controlled? Are we being manipulated? You're damn right we are.
Yeah, and you don't think that's happening. I mean, all you've got to do is open up a Facebook advertising account. Anybody can, and look at the tools they have available.
Yeah.
If you want a 13-year-old that likes X-Men and Taylor Swift and reads XYZ, so that you could talk to them in exactly that language, well, guess what? They could pull that audience for you.
I remember going back to the 50s, the CIA was conducting experimentation using LSD on people. I think the same thing is happening today, except using the electronics that we put in the hands of our kids.
Well, I know that we're just about at a break. I'll come back and I'll tell you a story specifically about that when we're back. It's a longer story, so I don't want to bump into the break, but you're absolutely right.
Scary. Nile, it's so great talking to you. Please stand by. Nile Nickel is our guest, Exonation, www.nilenickel.com. That's NILENICKEL.com. And this is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network and our worldwide broadcast affiliates and satellite programming providers. The X Zone store is up, www.thexzonestore.com. There's merchandise there, T-shirts, hats, sweaters, oh my gosh, jewelry. You can even get clothing for your dogs. I've got some creative people working here. You can get merchandise from the X Zone Radio Show, Paragators, and all the other shows that we do here at Relmar. Once again, that's thexzonestore.com. Nile Nickel and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And also, Exonation, there's still time to partake in Sylvia's Dream, putting a Sylvia's Haven in each state of the United States, www.sylviasdream.org. Nile Nickel is my guest. We'll both be back on the other side of this short break. Don't go away. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.